The great city of Coralia floated high above the purple clouds of the gas giant moon. Its crystal towers caught the light from 3 suns and threw rainbows across the sky. For 3,000 years, the Corallians had lived in peace among the stars. Their tall, slim bodies glowed with soft light that showed their feelings. When they were happy, they shone gold. When they were sad, they turned blue. When they were afraid, their light grew dim. Today, Elder Zixtara's light was almost gone. She stood in the great hall where the council met. The walls were made of clear crystal, so everyone could see the stars beyond. But the stars looked different. Now, some were missing. Where bright points of light used to shine, there was only darkness. The Devourers had come to those places. Commander Velanash walked into the hall. His blue glow was so faint it was hard to see him. He carried a data pad in his long fingers. The news it held was bad. "Elder, we have lost contact with Colony 7, he said. His voice was like music, but sad music now. The mechanical ships arrived there 2 days ago. There are no survivors." Zixtara closed her eyes. Colony 7 had been home to 50,000 Corallians. Now they were all gone, turned into metal and energy to feed the hunger of the machines. "How many colonies does that make?" she asked. 17 in the last month, Velanash replied. "They are moving faster now, learning from each battle. Our weapons work less and less each time we fight them." Other council members began to arrive. Their lights were all dim with fear and sadness. Some flickered like candles in the wind. Zixtara had never seen her people look so beaten. The Devourers had appeared in their space 6 months ago. At first, no one knew what they were. The ships looked like giant metal spiders with legs that could change shape. They came without warning and without speaking. They just began to eat. They ate everything. Plants, animals, buildings, even the ground itself. Everything organic went into their metal bodies and came out as more machines. Everything else was broken down and used to build more ships. The Corallians had tried to fight them. Their weapons were powered by sound and light. They could make a star burn brighter or make a planet ring like a bell. Against most enemies, these weapons worked well. But the Devourers were different. After the first battle, the machines learned. They changed their metal skin to reflect the light weapons. They built shields that stopped the sound weapons. After the second battle, they learned more. By the third battle, Corallian weapons barely scratched them. "We need help," said Council Member Thyvara. Her light pulsed orange with anger. "We cannot fight them alone." "We have asked for help," Zixtara replied. "We sent messages to every world we know. The Zephyrians were the strongest warriors in the galaxy. They fell in 3 days. The mollusk people were the smartest builders. They have been silent for months. No one can help us because no one is left." The council members looked at each other. Their lights grew even dimmer. Some began to flicker out completely. "What about the new species?" asked Velanash. "The ones from the small yellow star. They call themselves humans." Several council members made sounds of disbelief. Their lights flickered between blue and gray. "The humans?" Thivara's orange glow turned almost red. "They have barely left their own world. They use fire to push their ships through space. They fight with metal sticks that throw tiny rocks. They are like children playing with toys." "Children sometimes see things that adults miss," Zixtara said quietly. But even she did not believe it. The humans were new to space. They had no great cities floating in the void. They had no weapons that could crack planets or shields that could stop a sun. What could such a young species do against machines that had defeated the greatest powers? In the galaxy? Still, what choice did they have? "Send the message," she ordered. "Send it to everyone, even the humans." The message went out across the stars. It traveled on waves of light and sound, carrying the words of a dying people. It told of the mechanical plague that ate everything in its path. It begged for help from anyone who might hear it. Most who received the message were already dead, or running for their lives. Some were too far away to help. Others were too afraid to try. But somewhere in the darkness between stars, a small ship picked up the signal. The ship was ugly compared to Corallian vessels. It was made of metal and plastic instead of crystal and light. It pushed itself through space with controlled explosions instead of singing to the cosmic winds. Inside the ship, creatures that walked on two legs and covered their skin with cloth heard the message. They had only been traveling between stars. For a few decades, their technology was simple. Their weapons were basic. By every measure, they should have ignored the message and fled. They did not flee. On Corallia, Elder Zixthara stood alone in her chamber high in the crystal tower. Through the clear walls, she could see the defense grid that protected their world. Thousands of weapon platforms floated in space, ready to fight the machines when they came. But she knew the weapons would not be enough. The Devourers learned from every battle. They would find a way through the defenses. When they did, Corallia Prime would fall like all the others. She pressed her hand against the crystal wall and felt the slight vibration that ran through the city. It was the heartbeat of her people. Soon, if nothing changed, a heartbeat would stop forever. The mathematics were simple and terrible. At their current speed, the Devourers would reach Corallia Prime in 60 days. Maybe less. Zixthara's light dimmed until it was barely visible. For the first time in 3,000 years of history, the Corallian people faced extinction. And there was nothing they could do to stop it. In the darkness between stars, the machines continued their march toward the last free world of her people. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the universe changed forever. The coffee was terrible, like always on the exploration ship Destiny. But Jake had learned to live with bad coffee during his 20 years flying between the stars. Destiny was not a pretty ship. It looked like a metal box with engines stuck on the back. Inside, everything was painted gray or white. The walls were covered with pipes and wires. It smelled like oil and recycled air. But it was home to Jake and his crew of 38 people. They were far from Earth, mapping new star systems for the colonies that would come later. It was quiet work, but Jake liked it. No wars to fight, no pirates to chase. Just him, his crew, and the endless stars. "Captain, you need to hear this," called Lieutenant Lisa Park from her station. She was young, maybe 25, with short black hair and quick hands that danced over her controls. She handled all the ship's communications. Jake walked over to her station, still holding his coffee cup. "What is it, Lisa?" "I'm picking up a signal. It's not from Earth or any of our colonies. It's something else." Lisa's face was confused. "It's coming from really far away, outside our normal space." "Pirates?" Jake asked. "Pirates sometimes use strange signals to trick ships." "No, sir. This is different. It's like someone crying for help, but not human crying. Something else." Jake set down his coffee cup. "Let me hear it." Lisa pressed some buttons on her control panel. The bridge became quiet as a voice filled the air. It was beautiful and sad at the same time, like singing mixed with crying. The words were not English, but the ship's computer changed them so everyone could understand. "To anyone who can hear this message, we are the Corallian people. Our worlds are dying. Our children are afraid. We have looked to the stars for friends who might help us fight the machines that eat everything they touch. If you have brave hearts, if you care about life, please help us. We are running out of time." The message played again, then again. Each time it sounded weaker, like a radio with a dying battery. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then Commander Amy Rodriguez spoke up. She was Jake's second in command, a tough woman with gray hair and smart eyes. "Sir, I'm checking the star charts. That signal is coming from the Andromeda sector. That's way outside our territory." "How far?" Jake asked. 3 weeks at full speed, if we push the engines as hard as they can go," said Chief Engineer Bobby Kim. He was a small man, with oil-stained clothes and hands that could fix anything. "And that's if nothing breaks along the way." Jake looked at the star chart on the main screen. The Andromeda sector was marked in red. That meant it was unexplored space where Earth ships were not supposed to go. Going there without permission would get him in trouble with the Space Navy, but the voice in the message sounded so sad, so desperate. "Sir," said Dr. Helen Brooks, the ship's science officer, "if this is real, we might be the only ones who heard it, the only ones who can help." Jake thought about his daughter Katie back on Earth. She was 12 years old and wanted to be a space explorer like her father. He thought about the kind of galaxy he wanted her to grow up in. One where people helped each other, or one where they turned away when someone cried for help. "Bobby, can the engines handle a 3-week run at full power?" The engineer scratched his head. "Maybe, probably. The fusion reactors are solid, but we'll be pushing everything to the limit. If something breaks out there, we'll be stuck." "What about weapons?" asked Lieutenant Commander Nick Davis, the ship's security chief. "If these aliens are fighting some kind of war, we might need to defend ourselves." Nick was a big man with scars on his hands from his time as a Marine. The Destiny was not a warship, but it had some basic weapons for protection against pirates. "We've got mining lasers, some missiles, and the railgun," Nick continued. "But this is an exploration ship, not a battle cruiser. We're not built for fighting." Jake walked to the big window at the front of the bridge. Outside, the stars looked peaceful and quiet. But somewhere out there, people were dying. People who asked for help from anyone who would listen. "Lisa, can you trace that signal? Find out exactly where it came from?" "Already working on it, sir. It's coming from a star system about 23 light years from here. The signal is weak, but I can track it." "Amy, what do the regulations say about unauthorized travel to unexplored sectors?" Commander Rodriguez looked uncomfortable. "Technically, we're supposed to get permission from Fleet Command first. That could take months. And these aliens might be dead by then," Jake said quietly. The bridge was quiet again. Everyone was thinking the same thing. They were just one small ship with basic weapons and mining equipment. What could they do against something that was destroying entire worlds? But Jake remembered something his grandfather had told him when he was young. His grandfather had been a soldier in the old wars on Earth. "Son," the old man had said, "being a hero doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you're scared, but you do the right thing anyway." Jake looked at his crew. Lisa was young but brave. Amy was smart and loyal. Bobby could fix anything that broke. Nick would fight anyone who threatened innocent people. Dr. Brooks was curious about everything in the universe. They were not soldiers. They were explorers and scientists and engineers. But they were also human beings who had heard someone crying for help. "Lisa, send a message back to Earth. Tell them we're investigating a possible first contact situation. Make it sound official." "Yes, sir." "Bobby, start pushing the engines. I want maximum speed." "You got it, Captain." "Amy, plot a course for the Andromeda sector." "Nick, check our weapons and supplies." "Helen, start analyzing that signal. I want to know everything about these Karians before we get there." The crew began to move, each person doing their job. Jake stood at the window, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, people were dying. Maybe his small ship could not save them. Maybe they would all die trying, but they had to try. because that's what humans did. When someone called for help, humans answered, even if it was impossible, even if it was dangerous, even if they were scared. The Destiny turned toward the dark between stars and began its journey to save a world they had never seen. 3 weeks later, the Destiny arrived in Corallian space. What Captain Jake Morrison saw made his heart heavy with sadness. Where beautiful crystal cities should have floated, there was only broken metal and debris. Huge pieces of what used to be homes and schools drifted slowly through space. Some were still glowing with the soft light that the Corallians made, but the light was weak and dying. "My God," whispered Commander Amy Rodriguez. She stood next to Jake at the bridge window, staring at the wreckage. There were millions of people living here. Dr. Helen Brooks worked at her science station, reading the data from their sensors. "Captain, I'm detecting some kind of mechanical residue in the debris. These ships, whatever destroyed them, they were like nothing I've ever seen." Lieutenant Lisa Park looked up from her communications board. Her face was pale. "Sir, I'm trying to find any survivors, but most of the radio signals are just static. Wait." She pressed her hand to her earpiece. "I'm getting something. Very faint, but it's there." "Put it through the speakers," Jake ordered. A weak voice came through the ship's speakers. It was the same beautiful singing voice they had heard weeks ago, but now it sounded tired and broken. "Please, if anyone can hear this, we are hiding in the Keth asteroid field. There are 300 of us left. The machines will find us soon. We cannot run anymore." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. These people had sent out a cry for help, and nobody had come. Nobody except one small human ship. "Lisa, can you track that signal?" "Yes, sir. It's coming from about 2 million kilometers from here. There's a big asteroid field in that direction. Take US there, Amy, but be careful. We don't know what's still out there." The Destiny moved slowly through the debris field. Jake could see pieces of Corallian technology floating past the windows. Beautiful crystal formations that had once been part of their cities. It was like flying through a graveyard. "Captain," called out Chief Engineer Bobby Kim from his station. "I'm reading some strange energy signatures ahead. Something big is moving in the asteroid field." "Survivors?" Amy asked. "I don't think so," Bobby replied. "This looks more like the mechanical ships Dr. Brooks mentioned." Jake made a quick decision. Red alert. "Nick, power up our weapons. Bobby, give me everything the engines have got." The ship's alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed on every wall. The crew moved quickly to their battle stations, even though none of them had ever fought in a real space battle before. They found the Corallian survivors, hiding inside a hollowed-out asteroid. The rock had been carved into a temporary shelter, but it was clear the people inside were dying. Their life signs were very weak. "Bobby, can we dock with that asteroid?" Jake asked. "It'll be tricky, but yeah, I can do it." 20 minutes later, Jake and Dr. Brooks were floating through the airlock into the Corallian shelter. What they saw broke their hearts. The Corallians were tall and thin, with skin that looked like it was made of glass. But instead of glowing with bright colors, they were all very dim. Some were so faint Jake could barely see them. Not an old Corallian floated toward them. Her light was gold, but weak like a candle that was about to go out. "I am Elder Zixthara," she said through a small translation device. "You are the ones who answered our call for help." Jake removed his helmet so she could see his face. "Yes, Elder, I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Destiny. We came as soon as we heard your message." The Elder looked at him with large, sad eyes. "You are so small, so different from us. Your ship has no beautiful crystals, no light that sings with the stars. How did you travel so far through the dangerous void?" "We're tougher than we look," Jake said with a small smile. Dr. Brooks was scanning the Corallians with her medical equipment. Captain, they're all suffering from severe exhaustion and malnutrition. They need food and rest immediately. Can we take them aboard the Destiny? Some of them, but not all. We don't have enough space or supplies for 300 people. Elder. Zixthara heard their conversation. Do not worry about us, small captain. We are grateful that someone came, but we know there is nothing you can do. The Devourers are too strong. They have defeated armies that could crack moons and fleets that could make suns burn brighter. Tell me about these Devourers, Jake said. The Elder's light flickered with fear. They are machines that learn. Each time we fight them, they become harder to hurt. Our light weapons worked the first time, but now they just bounce off their metal skin. Our sound weapons used to break their ships apart, but now they have shields that stop all sound. Dr. Brooks looked up from her scanner. Captain, this is fascinating. These machines sound like they have adaptive artificial intelligence. They study each attack and develop countermeasures. In simple words, Helen, they're really smart computers that learn from every fight. The more you use the same trick, the better they get at stopping it. Jake thought about this. Back on Earth, he had learned to fight pirates who also adapted to human tactics. But there was always a way to win if you thought hard enough. Elder, show me everything you know about these machines. How they move, how they fight, what they're made of. For the next few hours, the Corallians shared all their knowledge about the Devourers. Jake and his crew listened carefully, taking notes and asking questions. The machines were indeed very smart. They could change their shape, upgrade their weapons, and learn new tactics in the middle of a battle. They had defeated every advanced civilization they had encountered. But as Dr. Brooks studied the data, she began to smile. Captain, I think, I understand the problem. These Devourers are incredibly advanced, but they think like computers. They look at each situation, analyze the threat, and respond with the most logical solution. And that's bad because humans don't think logically. We do crazy, stupid things that don't make sense. And if something doesn't make sense, a computer can't predict it. Jake's smile grew wider. Are you saying we should fight smart machines by being dumb? Not dumb, Captain. Unpredictable. Chaotic. Random. Chief Engineer Bobby Kim looked up from where he was examining some Corallian technology. Captain, I've got an idea. It's completely crazy, but it might work. I love crazy ideas, Bobby. Tell me. Well, sir, we're a mining ship, right? We've got drilling equipment, explosives for breaking up asteroids, metal cutters, all that basic stuff. None of it is fancy, but it's all simple and mechanical. Go on. What if we stopped trying to fight these machines like a proper warship and started fighting them like miners? Use our tools instead of our weapons? Dr. Brooks nodded excitedly. That's brilliant, Bobby. These machines have probably never seen mining equipment used as weapons. They won't know how to defend against it. Elder Zixthara listened to the humans talk. Her light began to grow a little brighter. You truly think you can fight the Devourers with mining tools? Jake looked at his small crew. They were scared, but they were also determined. They had come all this way to help strangers, and they were not going to give up now. Elder, humans have a saying. Sometimes the best way to solve a complicated problem is to hit it with a hammer. But what if the hammer is too small? Jake grinned. Then you get a bigger hammer. The humans worked for 12 hours straight, turning their peaceful exploration ship into something that would have made their mothers cry and their enemies laugh. Chief Engineer Bobby Kim stood in the cargo bay, covered in grease and grinning like a crazy person. Around him, the ship's mining equipment had been changed into weapons that looked like they were built by children with too much imagination. Captain, come look at this beauty. Bobby called out as Jake walked into the cargo bay. Jake stared at what used to be a rock drilling machine. Now it had been welded to a cargo launching tube and painted bright yellow. Bobby, what exactly am I looking at? I call it the hole puncher, sir. It shoots drill bits at really high speed. Each drill bit weighs about 50 pounds and spins at 10,000 rotations per minute. When it hits something, it makes a very big hole. Dr. Helen Brooks walked over from where she had been working on another strange device. Her lab coat was dirty and her hair was messy, but she looked excited. Captain, wait until you see what I made from the medical equipment. She led him to a table covered with small metal containers. These are biological warfare agents. Well, sort of. They're actually just bacteria that eat metal, but they work really fast. I got the idea from studying rust. Lieutenant Commander Nick Davis came over carrying what looked like a normal rifle, except it was 3 times bigger than usual. Sir, we took apart the emergency flare gun and made it shoot mining charges instead of flares. Each shot has enough explosive to blow up a small building. Jake looked around the cargo bay. His crew had turned shovels into swords, welded metal plates to their spacesuits for armor, and filled boxes with everything from nuts and bolts to old coffee grounds. It looked like a junk yard had exploded. This is your plan to fight advanced alien machines? Elder Zixthara asked. She had been watching the humans work with a mixture of amazement and worry. These weapons are so simple, so basic. That's the point, Jake said. These machines are smart, but they think like computers. They expect fancy energy weapons and advanced tactics. They don't expect us to throw garbage at them. Lieutenant Lisa Park looked up from her communication station. Captain, I'm detecting the Devourer fleet. They're about 6 hours away and moving fast. How many ships? 57, sir. All of them bigger than us. The crew became quiet. 57 ships against 1. Even with their crazy weapons, those were not good odds. Well, said Bobby cheerfully, at least we'll go down fighting. Elder Zixthara's light flickered with despair. Captain Morrison, you should leave now while you still can. Take some of my people with you. At least a few Corallians will survive. Jake shook his head. We didn't come all this way to run away, Elder. We came to help. But you cannot win. No one can defeat the Devourers. Maybe not, Jake admitted, but we're going to try anyway. Because that's what humans do. 6 hours later, the Devourer fleet arrived like a metal storm. The ships were huge and dark, shaped like spiders with legs that could change form. They moved through space with perfect coordination, like a school of mechanical fish. The lead Devourer ship sent a message to the human vessel. The voice was cold and electronic, without any emotion. Unknown ship, you will be consumed. Your biological matter will be processed. Your technology will be analyzed and improved. Resistance is futile. Jake sat in the captain's chair, wearing his spacesuit and a metal helmet that Bobby had made from a mining hard hat. Lisa, open a channel. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Destiny. We're here to stop you from hurting innocent people. Your species is unknown to us, the machine voice replied. Your technology is primitive. Your ship is small. You cannot hope to succeed. Yeah, well, we humans are famous for doing things we can't do. Amy, take us into the middle of their formation. Commander Rodriguez looked at him like he was crazy. Sir, that's suicide. Trust me, Amy. The Destiny flew straight toward the center of the Devourer fleet. The machine ships moved to surround the small human vessel, probably wondering why anyone would be so stupid. Now, Bobby, Jake ordered. Bobby pressed a big red button he had installed next to his engineering station. Party. Time. The cargo bay doors opened and dozens of objects shot out in all directions. But these were not normal weapons. They were pieces of junk from the ship's recycling system, mixed with actual garbage, old equipment parts, and anything else the crew could find. The Devourer ships immediately began analyzing the objects, trying to figure out what kind of attack this was. Their computers worked overtime, trying to find patterns in banana peels, broken tools, and coffee filters. "Sir, they're scanning everything we threw at them," reported Dr. Brooks from her science station. "Their processing systems are overloaded, trying to make sense of our garbage." "Perfect. Nick, now hit them with the real stuff." Nick pressed his firing controls, and the hole puncher activated. Spinning drill bits shot out like bullets. But the Devourers were still confused by the garbage and didn't raise their shields. In time, 3 machine ships suddenly had large holes punched through their metal hulls. "Impossible," transmitted the lead Devourer. "Your attack pattern makes no logical sense." "That's because we're not being logical," Jake replied. "Lisa, play some music for our new friends." Lisa activated the ship's external speakers and began playing Earth music at full volume. Not just one song, but dozens of different songs all at the same time. Classical music mixed with rock and roll mixed with country, music mixed with jazz. The Devourer ships tried to analyze the sound patterns, looking for some kind of sonic weapon. Their sensors went crazy trying to find tactical meaning in a mixture of Beethoven and heavy metal. "What is the purpose of this audio transmission?" the lead Devourer demanded. "It's called music," Jake said. "We play it because we like it." "That serves no tactical function." "Exactly." While the machines were still confused, Dr. Brooks launched her metal-eating bacteria at the nearest Devourer ships. The tiny organisms began eating through the metal hulls, creating weak spots that Bobby's drilling equipment could exploit. The battle turned into chaos. The Devourers kept trying to predict what the humans would do next, but the humans kept doing things that made no sense. They shot mining charges like fireworks. They used their garbage disposal system as a weapon. They played music and told jokes over the radio while they fought. "Your tactics are random," the lead Devourer complained. "There is no pattern to your behavior." "Welcome to fighting humans," Jake said as he ordered another volley of drilling equipment to be fired at the enemy. "We make it up as we go along." The machine ships began to malfunction. Their adaptive systems couldn't handle enemies who had no system to adapt to. Every time they figured out one human trick, the humans would try something completely different. Elder Zixthara watched the battle from the safety of the asteroid. Her people's lights were growing brighter as they saw the impossible happening. The machines that had seemed unbeatable were being confused and damaged by a single small ship using mining tools and garbage. "How are they doing this?" she whispered. To herself, the answer was simple, though she didn't know it yet. The humans weren't trying to be clever or advanced. They were just being human. Stubborn, unpredictable, and absolutely refusing to give up Dot, and sometimes that was enough. The battle raged for 3 hours, and the Devourer fleet was falling apart. Captain Jake Morrison watched from his command chair as another machine ship spun out of control, its metal hull covered with holes from Bobby's drilling weapons. Sparks flew from damaged systems while Dr. Brooks' metal-eating bacteria slowly ate through the ship's armor. "Sir, we've disabled 23 of their ships," reported Lieutenant Commander Nick Davis, "but we're running low on ammunition." Jake looked at the tactical display. They had done better than anyone could have hoped, but there were still over 30 Devourer ships left. The Destiny was battered and smoking, held together by emergency patches and Bobby's creative engineering. "Captain," called out Chief Engineer Bobby Kim from his station, "the main engines are overheating, and we've used up most of our mining equipment. I've got maybe 10 more drill bits left." The lead Devourer ship, larger than all the others, moved closer to the Destiny. Its mechanical voice filled the bridge again. "Your resistance has been noted and analyzed. While your tactics are chaotic and unpredictable, you cannot defeat our entire fleet with one small ship. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." Jake stood up from his chair. His spacesuit was scratched and dented, but his eyes were still full of fight. "You know what your problem is? Explain. You think this is about winning or losing. You think it's about who has the bigger guns or the smarter computers. But you're wrong." Lieutenant Lisa Park looked up from her communication station. She had been quiet during most of the battle, but now she smiled. "Captain, can I tell them?" Jake nodded. "Go ahead, Lisa." Lisa activated the ship's external speakers, so her voice would reach all the Devourer ships. "You want to know what this is really about? It's about standing up to bullies. It's about helping people who can't help themselves. It's about doing the right thing even when it's scary." "Your emotional concepts are irrelevant," the machine voice replied. "No, they're not," Lisa continued. "See, you made one big mistake. You assumed that, because we're not as advanced as the other species you fought, we'd be easier to beat. But humans don't give up just because something is hard." Commander Amy Rodriguez joined the conversation. "We've been fighting impossible odds since we first learned to walk upright. We fought giant animals with pointed sticks. We crossed oceans in wooden boats. We flew to the moon using computers less powerful than our coffee makers." Dr. Helen Brooks added her voice to the growing chorus. "We cure diseases that should kill us. We build cities in deserts and jungles and frozen wastelands. We survive things that would destroy other species." Bobby Kim laughed over the radio. "And when we can't win with skill, we win with stubbornness. When we can't win with technology, we win with creativity. When we can't win at all, we fight anyway." The Devourer ships stopped moving for a moment, as if their artificial intelligences were processing this information. Finally, the lead ship spoke again. "Your species defies logical analysis. Your behavior serves no evolutionary purpose. Why? Do you fight when you cannot win?" Jake smiled. "Because someone asked for help. Because it's the right thing to do. Because we're too stupid to know when to quit." Then he did something that surprised everyone, including his own crew. He activated the ship's emergency distress beacon. "Captain, what are you doing?" Amy asked. "Calling for backup," Jake said calmly. "But sir, there is no backup. We're the only Earth ship in this sector. I know, but someone might hear the signal." For several minutes, nothing happened. The Devourer ships waited, probably trying to figure out what new trick the humans were planning. The crew of the Destiny prepared for what looked like their final battle. Then Lisa's communication board lit up like a Christmas tree. "Captain, I'm getting responses to our distress call. Lots of them." "From where?" "Everywhere, sir. Ships from dozens of different species. They heard our fight with the Devourers, and they're coming to help." The tactical display showed new ships arriving from all directions. Some were survivors from species the Devourers had thought they destroyed completely. Others were refugees who had been hiding in distant star systems. A few were military ships from civilizations that had been too afraid to fight alone, but now they weren't alone. The humans had shown them that even the mighty Devourers could be beaten by courage and creativity. "This is Admiral Kethvor of the Zephyrian Resistance," came a voice over the radio. "Captain Morrison, we've been listening to your battle. Your tactics are insane, but they work. We're here to help finish what you started. This is Commander Vel Thok of the Mollusk Defense Fleet. We thought our people were extinct, but your fight gave us hope. We're targeting the machine ships on your left flank." Ship after ship announced their arrival. The Devourers found themselves surrounded by a growing fleet of vessels from every corner of the galaxy. Species that had been hiding or running for months had heard the humans fighting impossible odds and decided to join the battle. Elder Zixthara watched from her asteroid shelter, as the tide of battle turned completely. Her people's lights blazed with joy and amazement as the machine, fleet that had seemed unstoppable, began to fall apart under the combined assault. How did they do it? She asked Dr. Brooks, who was monitoring the battle from a communication link. They showed everyone that the Devourers could be beaten, Helen replied. Sometimes all it takes is one person willing to stand up to a bully, and others find the courage to stand up too. The final Devourer ship was disabled 3 hours later. The machine intelligence that had terrorized the galaxy for months was finally silent. Jake stood on the bridge of his battered ship, looking out at the fleet of allied vessels that had gathered around them. Ships from dozens of species, all different shapes and sizes, all here because one small human crew had refused to run away from a fight. "Captain," Lisa said softly, "we're getting a message from Earth. Somehow word of what we did here has reached." "Home. What does it say?" "It's from your daughter, sir. She says she's proud of you, and she wants to be a space explorer just like her father." Jake smiled, thinking about Katie and the galaxy she would inherit. It would be a better place now, a place where different species worked together instead of fighting alone. Commander Rodriguez came to stand beside him at the window. "So what do we do now, sir?" "Now we help rebuild," Jake said. "We teach other species how to fight like humans. Not with bigger weapons or smarter computers, but with determination and creativity and the absolute refusal to give up on people who need help." Elder Zixthara's voice came over the communication system, speaking to all the ships in the growing fleet. "Today we learned something important. The strongest weapon in the galaxy is not technology or firepower. It is the courage to stand up for what is right, even when the odds seem impossible." In the years that followed, the alliance that began with one small human ship would grow to include hundreds of species. They would explore new worlds together, share their knowledge, and protect each other from any threat that might arise. But they would always remember the day when a cargo ship full of stubborn humans showed the galaxy that sometimes the best way to solve an impossible problem is to refuse to accept that it's impossible. The stars had never looked brighter,